gums at each other any chance they get. The fight clock is brought to you by Modelo.
It's time
for you to sit back, relax, and listen to a complete and fucking utter armchair expert give his completely and utterly useless opinions on the one hell of an amazing sport that is MMA.
G'day, guys. Yeah, what a week this is in fighting. We have, of course, Jones versus Miocic, UFC 309 coming up. But before we even get to that, we have Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. That is coming up later on. We'll talk about that as well. But first, I have to do the UFC 308 recap. So I brought it. It was on at 5 a.m. I was literally recording and mixing and mastering the podcast as as the event was on. As I think I said in one of the stories I posted. It was funny the way it worked, you know. I was didn't set an alarm or anything, but I just got up for it. It was funny the way the body clock worked. Didn't quite go how I was hoping, other than the third last fight to the main event, which is the only one I saw. Magomed Ankalaev, who's apparently meant to be the next contender to Alex Pereira, won at light heavyweight, but Robert Whittaker got submitted by Khamzat Chimeav in the first round, and Max Holloway, who I was hoping would win the featherweight title, got knocked out in the third round by Ilia Topuria. And after Max got knocked out, Volk, who was in attendance, came into the cage and said, I'm next. So we're getting that fight coming up, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm keen for. But yeah, that was pretty much UFC 308. I don't know if it was worth getting up for, because what I hoped for didn't happen. But that was about it, guys. But yeah, so that's the recap done. And then when I come back, we will talk UFC 309. All that and more when I come back. So, UFC 309, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Of course, it's not just that. We have a lightweight bout between the number 2 ranked Charles Oliveira and number 7 ranked Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's finally fighting for the first time in 2 years because he's been waiting for Conor McGregor, and I guess said, screw that, I'm going back to fighting and trying to get a belt, which is good for him. But Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title, should I say. 6-1 favorite. Jon Jones is. And also I forgot they're saying that Charlie Olives is the favorite against Chandler. But Dana White said at the press conference, and I've got to repost all that stuff to the socials because I haven't yet. Dana White said about who's next after this fight. He said that it's absolutely going to be Tom, Aspinall, who's going to be fighting whoever wins. So that's good. And it's probably all but confirmed that John Jones is retiring, at least until bloody Tom Aspinall gets the belt. He'll probably fight Stipe for it. But I got some things to say about that. You know, John Jones came out and said things like Tom Aspinall's an asshole and all that sort of stuff. Like, come on, man. Like, Tom has been nothing but respectful to you, and even said things like, you know, I know you're the GOAT. That's why I want to fight you. Like, I want your name on my resume. But he's saying he's an asshole just because he wants to fight. Like, come on, man. Like, you're going to say that despite you hitting a pregnant woman and only coming back for your money and cocaine and, you know, being done for PEDs God knows how many times and pulling out of a fight with Charles Sonnen last second. Like, you're going to call Tom Aspinall an asshole? Like, come on, man. You know, of course I'm still a fan of John Jones, but I really hate the way he's acted with regards to this. And I'm glad that Tom is getting the next shot. It arguably should be him. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm keen for this fight. It's, you know, a Legends bout, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I just did not like that at all. Sorry. I just did not like that at all. You know, the way John was talking about Tom. Like, come on, man. Number one, he hasn't been. And number two, you of all people are going to say that? Like, come on, man. You're in no position to talk like that about anyone else, much less someone like Tom Aspinall, who just wants a shot at the heavyweight title, which he really should get, seeing as he's the interim champion. But yeah, anyway, I just didn't like that at all. But yeah, that's pretty much UFC 309, or the only parts of it that I really care to talk about, as always. Yeah, like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm keen for it because we were supposed to get it at UFC 295. And it's probably going to be John Jones's retirement fight, so I'm going to be watching regardless. But yeah, man, I just didn't like that at all. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And when I come back, we're going to talk upcoming cards, Paul versus Tyson, and whatever else I think to talk about. But yeah, man, all that and more when I come back. So I guess when it comes to upcoming cards, there's only two really to talk about. There's UFC 310, where we're going to see Bilal Muhammad defend his recently won welterweight championship against Shavkat Rakhmonov. And then it's going to be a double title fight. Alexandre Pantoja defends his flyweight title against Kai Asakura. And then, of course, oh, God, Nick Diaz is fighting on it. I just realised that. Far out. So Nick Diaz is in the UFC, but not Nate. That's interesting. But we've got the cancelled fight between Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. That is happening on UFC 310 as well. And the other card is, of course, UFC 312, which I may have touched on. Coming back to the land down under, there's a lot of talk that Volk's going to be on it, which I hope's the case. Unfortunately, it's in Sydney again, so I can't go to it. But as I always say, when it comes back to Melbourne, man, I'll be going no matter what. But just going to end the podcast real quickly talking about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Live on Netflix, AT&T Stadium, 80,000 people in attendance and millions, if not hundreds of millions, watching around the world. It's going to be a huge event, man, and I'm going to be watching it just because I've never seen a Tyson fight live. I don't know how to feel about it. I really don't. You know, Mike Tyson, 58 years old, fighting a 27-year-old Jake Paul, you know. I just really hope he doesn't get knocked out because I want him to be remembered well, as does my dad, who's a big Tyson fan. You know, I thought he didn't need the money, but I guess he just saw all these guys making all that Saudi money and decided, screw it, I deserve a piece of that, which I guess I can't fault him for. But yeah, I just hope it doesn't end badly. That's all. I really, because I've sort of accepted that Jake Paul's probably going to win, but I just hope it isn't a knockout. I hope it goes to decision. So Mike is still remembered somewhat fondly as the legend he is, undoubtedly. Him and Ali, I think, probably the two most famous boxers ever. But yeah, it's going to be a big event and it's a big week in fighting and I'm very keen for it. I'm going to be watching it. I just hope it doesn't end badly. But yeah, guys, that's about it. Sorry it's such a short one. It's currently 2 a.m. and I've got to be up by 12 to watch this Tyson event. So a little bit short and snappy, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy both fights wherever you're watching them from, if you watch both. And as always, till next time, catches.